Hi students, today we will discuss about the Civil War. So dear students, in previous videos lectures we have discussed about the April thesis as well as the changes which came into being in Russia after the October revolutions. And after these October revolutions we see these Lenin theory as well as the Lenin April thesis who came into effect in Russia. So when the Lenin theory as well as the April thesis came into effect, we see lot of changes which came into being in Russia. Then according to Lenin April thesis, we see that the land redistribution policy has been introduced in Russia, and when the land redistribution policy was introduced, during that time the non-Bolshevik party who started the civil war in Russia, which created a very dramatic situations in Russia. So dear students, as we see that according to this land redistribution policy, which was given the order by the Bolshevik party during that time, we see the Russian army which was split into several pieces, and this Russian army, they went back to their villages. The peasants, they went back to their villages because they wanted to have a piece of land according to the land redistribution policy of Lenin. And during that time, when this land redistribution policy was ordered, the non-Bolshevik parties were very opposed to the ideologies of Lenin. And what they did was, they started opposing the ideas of socialism. They started opposing the ideas of this land redistribution policy. So in order to oppose the Lenin theories, what they did was they formed the social groups, and after forming the social groups, they started revolting against the Bolshevik parties. So here, those people who did not support the ideas of Lenin, they formed the groups. They are such as the whites, the reds as well as the greens. These are the three groups of peoples who formed a truce in order to fight against the Bolshevik party, especially the socialism process as well as the land redistribution policy of Lenin. So here, when these three groups who formed a very strong truce in order to fight against the Bolshevik party, because the Bolshevik party had started socialism process in Russia, and due to that, this non-Bolshevik party, they started opposing this land redistribution policy made by the Lenin. And during that time, we see that all these groups, they were backed, or they were supported by the French peoples, they were supported by the American peoples, they were supported by the British peoples as well as the Japanese peoples. And why these peoples were supported by them? Because the growth of socialism made these peoples of France, the peoples of American, the peoples of British, the people of Japanese to be very worried. Why? Because the growth of socialism, which was making them very worried, and they were thinking that if they do not stop the socialism process, then it will spread to other countries which is surround them or which is around them. And that is the reasons, students, as we see that the American, the French peoples, the British peoples, they are supporting this non-Bolshevik party to oppose the Lenin land redistribution policy, so that the socialism process will not be carried forward to the neighboring countries which was there surrounding these Russian nations. So in order to stop the ideas of the socialism process, Here we see the breaking up these American, the French peoples, the British peoples, as well as the Japanese peoples. So when they came together, then the movements which becomes a civil war in Russia. And when they started this civil war, during that time what they did? They started looting, they started doing banditry, and when they started looting, during that time the famines as well as the situations of Russia which becomes very worse and worse. Why? Because the civil war which created lot of economic setback in Russia. So apart from that, my dear children, as we see the supporters of the private property who lost the land, they took a very hard step to seize the land from the peasants because they have lost their lands during the land redistribution policy, and that is the reason they were very angry, and they took the hard steps in order to get back their lands or to get back their property. And during that time, the non-Bolshevik party, they lost their popularity in the society. And by 1920, we see that all this Bolshevik party, they controlled all the Russian Empire. They were supported by the Muslim jihadists. So, dear students, as we were discussing about the civil war, and we understood that the non-Bolshevik party, they got unpopularity in the society, and during such times we see the Bolshevik party, they got the support of the non-Russian nationalists as well as the Muslim jihadists, and when they given them the corporations the support, they were able to have control over the other Russian areas. Then apart from that, as we see in Cuba, in Central Asia, the Bolshevik colonists who massacred the local nationalists in the name of defending the socialisms in Russia. And apart from that, dear students, as we see that to get the remedy of all these situations, the non-Russian nationalists were given political autonomy, and they were part of the Soviet Union, or they were part of the Soviet Union in Russia. They were part of the Soviet Union. So here we see that when this Bolshevik party were in power, they tried to control the situations, they developed the new policy. Then after developing the new policy, they were forcing all the local government to follow the rules as well as the regulations of the Bolshevik party. So dear students, in these topics called the Civil War, as we see that when the Bolshevik party came into being and when they started the new governmental policy, during that time they started and given important to socialism process, and they started the land redistribution policy. And as soon as they started the land redistribution policy, we see the civil war which happened in Russia, that created lot of confusions, lot of problems such as famine, such as very bad economical situations in Russia, and with that we see the economical setback in Russia. So dear students, as soon as this land redistribution policy, we see the oppositions which is seen in Russia, and this opposition was made by the non-Bolshevik party. So dear students, this is all about the concept of civil war which happened in Russia, and when the civil war happened, it created lot of economical problems in Russia. So dear students, I hope that you have understood my concepts. If you have any doubt, kindly contact me. Thank you so much for listening to me.